Good morning. It's Saturday and it's June, and we're building a startup live-ish on YouTube. The whole thing is going on video, and it's day 10. Kind of a milestone, don't you think? Day 10 and the end of our second week on this project. Excuse me. Let's see, I'm going to pull up my code editor here and get started. So yesterday, did some good stuff. We worked on a database, put a database together for our app, and it allows us to actually read info that's stored in a database somewhere and show it on the screen. And it also let us securely send data to that database on the user's behalf. And that's kind of a big milestone today. And I was actually thinking about what's coming next today. I think I know what to do. I want to just get a little bit of this stuff polished and rounded out for the end of our week. Finish up a couple of the UX, bumpy spots. And before I do that, though, I want to talk a little bit about how to decide what to do next. Because I think up until this point, for code at least, it's been pretty straightforward. We know we needed to have a website. I knew I was going to do it and create React app and React and Firebase. So I knew I needed to have authentication set up. I knew I needed to have a database. I knew I needed to get all that stuff coming up. But it's starting to be a little less obvious what to do next. And this is classic startup stuff. I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a sketch. I'll pull up Sketch here so I can show. So I think of it like this. Imagine this is like a user coming in to use your app, right? They have this idea. Or they come to the app and they have this first thing. And then if you're walking through your head, okay, they're gonna come to the app, they're gonna see this. And then you think they're gonna have this next experience, right? The next thing's gonna happen to them, 1 and 2. But then you have another idea. You're like, well, they could do this. Or wouldn't it be cool if they did this? So imagine this is our little journey, what somebody's doing. And then you might think to yourself, well, those would be cool. Which one should we build? Well, we've got to build both. We got to build a good onboarding flow, and we got to build a good feature, right? It seems obvious. And we'll start with this one for now, or maybe we'll have somebody else work on this. And then guess what happens next, though? Instead of having an obvious feature, they say, well, how should that work? We could do this or this, right? And then what you soon realize is that this whole, this stuff doesn't really work. It's most common that every time you have an idea, you have a bunch more ideas. And very quickly, this stuff tends to get out of control. The permutations here multiply really rapidly. Have you ever heard that fable about a guy who was talking to a king about rice or something? And, he said he basically asked for a grain of rice on a chessboard, and then on the next square of the chessboard, double that grain of rice the next day, 2 grains of rice. And on the next square, he asked for double again, 4 grains of rice. And basically, if you do that for 64 squares of chessboard, you're gonna have way more rice than any country can ever grow. And it's the power of these multiplying numbers. And I really think features and computers behave this way. It starts off simple, but then, it's like cutting off the head of a dragon, and again, in a fable, the 2 more will grow back, and every idea just will beget more ideas really, really quickly. And so the tendency of development is sort of, you start here, you go to, you start here, maybe you go to here, you go to here, you go to here, and then you're just kind of bouncing around to each of these features in this slog of just doing random stuff. And the problem is that it gets so quick, it gets so complicated so quickly that you never actually get to the part where it's good. There's no point in here where your user journey becomes this complete success. And it can be just a depressing thing to have to deal with on a software team. And I think a lot of software teams do. This is kind of the fundamental thing that software teams deal with, because I think maybe the constraints are different. In a car company, you know that you can only mold so many parts, and you know that you can only fit so many parts into a car, and maybe it doesn't happen there. I don't think so. I'm sure any sufficiently complex system has a lot of this stuff going on. And this is kind of what's happening to us now. Like, we knew we had to create just to get them on a website. We knew we had to get them to log in, and once they logged in, we knew we had to get them to be able to see their meetings and edit the meetings. But now we're starting to get in this area where there's just so many different things we could do with this product. So how do we solve this? I mean, one thing we have is we already have a wireframe. We already have this idea, this vision of what we want this person to do. That's sort of like, a series of these, squares that like show, okay, this wireframe says we're going to go down this path. So we've got a little bit of a guide that could get us through the muck and the forest of ideas as you have them. I think, the one thing that I find to be really, really useful when dealing with the muck here is to pick a goal at the end of this whole thing. Like, pick a goal down here. What is the last square? What does the user need to do to just be like so happy and successful, and this thing worked, and it's just obvious that this person is now happy, and not in the app, like, oh, they use the app and they really like the app. In their life, what do they want? People don't use apps to use apps. They use them to like enjoy their friends, or build social relationships, or do better at work, or build better products, or feel safer or happier. There's things that people use these things for. And so what is that thing down here? And then what you can do is you can kind of like work backwards. You say, okay, well, if this person is going to run a meeting. So for us, this is why we did those personas, right? If Becky's going to run a meeting and got a lot of great feedback from her team and shared it, she'll be really happy. So what does she need to do that? Well, there needs to be like a meeting running experience. And then you kind of go backwards through, and you eventually can connect a series of these squares together that describe what you need to do to get there. And that's like your main path. That's really important. So that's one thing, like, get to that end state. And then once you have that end state, this is why people have things like, mission statements to some degree, and like visioning, and we do a lot of like product. I think the design style of doing this is really more interesting, like the vision of what this product is going to be, because it keeps everybody who's actually building the thing from getting caught up in milestones or the muck of these things if they have a milestone and a vision about where they're trying to get to. And by the way, a lot of these ideas are actually pretty good. Like, this idea might be like a shiny, fun idea. It might actually be kind of cool, but it doesn't lead us, down to this end goal. And our goal is not to have cool things. It's just to get them to that end goal. That's the first thing you always need to be able to do. I think that's one. That's one. And so for me right now, I'm looking at Shuffleboard and thinking like what do we need to do for Becky to come in here, or Jason, come in, do their thing, maybe it's not perfect, and run a meeting, create a board, whatever the case is, and have an effective meeting and get some result. Not a great result, because then later you go and you say, this is good, but like, what if we did this? And then you add better stuff as you go. Like, it's natural for this main path to get fleshed out with some, side bonus features along the way on the periphery. But you just don't want to go, out here, because that's where this is headed. Maybe that analogy is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm a visual thinker, I guess. So what does she need to do to get to there? And I think, the typeface doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence, but is it really blocking her from getting there? I mean, that's another way to think about this. What are the blockers? Is there like a giant wall here that's like, hey, we could work all day on cool ideas in this space, but fundamentally, if we don't have this thing done, we'll never get to our end goal. And that's a really important thing to focus on. Or you could say, like, are there any of these that we can skip? Can we just say, like, hey, let's just go right from here to here, and then, we'll get rid of the wall, and then we're gonna get rid of this one. And like, I think we can get this app working if we just do this. This to this, right to here, to here, to here, and done. You know, and then you can say, not only are we gonna add like bonus things on the side, but maybe we'll add like a middle thing that you can do later, but right now we don't really need it. So I'm just kind of thinking about this path in mind for our app right now. And, you know, so she can get here. It's not great, but it doesn't really interfere with her doing anything. If she logs in and we get her to boards, I'm not sure how she's going to figure out how to do that. So we might need to just fix the buttons here a little bit. We get her to boards. We need to show her these boards and let her create a board. And then, is this text box enough for her to have like a good meeting? I don't think so. I don't think it's providing any value of a Google Docs. In fact, it's much worse right now. So we need to just do a little bit to add something here so that she gets to the point where she can open this and say, hey, I had a meeting, it was successful. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And then, you know, as these feature ideas come up, like we'll keep working on this stuff. We don't need to do this anymore. But we'll figure out other ways to track those ideas and get a little bit more organized soon enough. But for now, I just want to focus on having somebody come in here and at least, you know, I want them to walk away from this app feeling like, well, it's a little rough, that's for sure. But it does get a job done, and I'm interested in that job. That's what we're trying to get to. I think that's the mindset of this person. Okay. So do we have our thing open? No. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so what do we actually need to do? This boards thing, it's gonna make you click it. I think this is just a confusing, it's a bit of a confusing welcome here. I think I wanna make another layout for the app, or for the marketing stuff. Yeah, that's gotta change. We gotta give them a login button. So you log in. We probably don't need this anymore. I mean, we do, but it doesn't need to be the biggest thing, right? We'll fix it later. Bad that I mean, okay, so here's some things I want to do. I want to make it so that you can name a board, because otherwise it's just super confusing. And I know that I want to make it so we want to change this layout a little bit. Well, let's use the live one here. Okay. Let's do, let's just take care of this layout. That's sort of like that intro thing. She's coming in, I think the home screen situation here is just confusing. We need a little bit of call to action. So I'm going to make another layout, app layout, marketing layout. So this is just for the marketing site. Marketing site being like the website before you sign in. I guess this should probably be called app layout. Okay, marketing layout. So what for the marketing site, I don't want to show boards here. I do want to show shuffleboard, but I just want to get them into the app if they're logged in and have them sign up if they're not. So that means I don't want this. if they're logged in, I need a link. I have that. Here we go. If they're logged in, return, go to dashboard. See your boards, maybe. I don't know if that's really good. Login or sign up would make sense. I think Becky might need that. But those are going to go to real pages later. But for now, they're just going to do the same thing. Log out as defined and reused. You do not need this here. Okay, so you can go to your shuffleboard, and then if you're logged in, you can go to your dashboard. Now I'm on my dashboard here. What's if I log out? Yeah, that's annoying. Oh, did we try this and it didn't work last time? I don't think it's push state. Takes us here. This makes sense. I even want maybe like a make it real clear where to do this. Maybe this isn't the right way to be doing this. Whatever. That marketing layout needs a... There we go. Okay, shuffleboard. I'm even gonna... This is a little bit of styling, so I might regret it. But I just want to get this looking like a marketing page. Just a touch, just a little bit. I'm going to put in terrible markup here, just so that I know I have to change it later. All right, so that's like a landing page, shuffleboard. Login, sign up, shuffleboard helps you run live collaborative meetings. You can put a phrase there. Now I'm getting distracted. Okay, so try it. Yeah, log in. And then log in, not return a promise. Oh. What do I want to call that function, huh? Sometimes. Well, that didn't work. Well, let's figure that out later. It's not working. I'm not going to push a half-assed version. I don't really want to think about it right now because I'm realizing I'm going down one of those little paths. I can go to my dashboard here. All right, now we're cooking. We got something going on here. This active development thing, okay. Welcome, Sampras. You know, welcome. That was cute, but it's time to say goodbye. We need one of those little spaces. I actually don't know if we need these two links here. I'm going to say that for our app layout, our home screen is boards. We don't have anything else. We can make a menu there later if we need it. I'm not convinced we do. So this is our home, you know. And maybe we could go there if we wanted to, and then go back to our dashboard. But if we click home, we're just going to come back to here, our list of boards, as it should be. I'm tempted to say we need a settings page here. Build our settings page as a root. When you click your name, you go there. On the settings page, you click log out. I want to build it. But not only is it worse for a user to have to click again to log out, there's nothing else to put on the settings page, so that's a distraction. That's like a little feature branch. I'm just going to leave it log out. I'm going to leave it Times New Roman. It hurts, people. It hurts, but it's the right thing to do. Okay. If I do log out, well, I gotta, you know, code it in, anyway. Does it log out and log in, and let's see how many times I may have screwed that up, because that's no good. Okay. I think we're good. There we go. It works. Why did that other one not work? Could have had more patience, but then I would have spent more time on something I don't really care about. Maybe we'll put that little warning on the home page, just so we don't have our main view all clogged up with it. Let's do that in a minute. Let's first get this committed. I'm just going to say looks a little annoying, but we'll leave it for now. Oh yeah, okay, shuffleboard. So the point is that when you get to your boards, you just got a bunch of boards. You don't have to worry about all this other stuff, you know. Okay, that's better. I think it's going to help a potential user like get stuff done a little bit more reasonably. That is annoying. I'm going to go back and try to fix that. Now we're good. I've been at it for half an hour already. It's crazy. I'm going to take a break real quick just to make sure my screen recording isn't borked, and then we'll keep going. Okay, we're back. So the next thing I want to do is make these boards maybe just a little bit cleaned up, because they're just named after the content. It says my board. I think it's just a little too confusing. So what I want to do is I want to give boards a name. I want to make it so like when you make a board, you get to name it. So let's see how we do that. That's a board, marketing, app. You know what, real quick, this app is not the right name for this anymore. This should be called boards. Gucci. Yeah, okay. Okay, so when you go to create a new, you're on boards, you want to go create a new board. Click. Okay, so this create board guy, this I believe we set it up so that it can take a parameter. Can I not click? That's annoying. Yeah, so you can give it things to create the board with, and it'll still do it. So I'm going to create the board with a name. Bob Cratchit board. Why Bob Cratchit? Is that even how you spell Bob Cratchit? I don't know. And then in the board itself, where does it say my board? Yeah, no, we want board data.name. And if there's no name, unnamed board. Let's try that out. So this board doesn't have a name yet because it's an old one. That's cool. But if we create a board, but now it's called Bob Crouch's board. And here, oh, did we not? Because we didn't type anything. So that's actually a good point too. We need to show on the boards list that these boards should be called board.name or unnamed board. There we go. That makes more sense. Now, maybe we should make it so you can change the name here, but I think that might be also a distraction because most people are going to create this board and create a name right away. So we got to be able to do that. So when you make a new boards, should I make this a fun? This is getting a little bit too much for like inline here, but window.prompt, I think window.prompt will let me ask I need I don't need that. Doesn't need if not name. So the name is just going to be the thing called name. So what it's saying is unclick. Ask them, what do you want to call this thing? That's the thing, the answer called name. And that might be a string, I think it might be false. If it's false, if there's no name, return, meaning don't do this. Actually, let's just say, maybe the simpler way to do it would be to say, if they give you an answer, then create a board with the name. And then, with that board, show us it. Show it to us. I don't. Perfect. I don't. Howdy do neighbor. Hey, I got a board called Howdy Doodly Do Neighbor. Order of these is all off, but we can worry about that later. Great. Now you can name a board when you make it. What have we done? Link to boards. So we're just showing the name here. You can ask for a name, otherwise stuff's the same. On the board, we show the name of the board. Great. Baller. So we're getting close here. We've got some good stuff. We should be able to delete these boards, etc. I don't really want to worry about that right now. Once you make a board, this thing though this is just not enough. If I'm thinking about that, Becky is going to come in and do this. If she gets this far, she might be thinking, it's crappy, but like, hey, you built the thing. Good for you. Maybe this will be useful for me. Especially once it's tidied up enough that I could, show it to my team. And she's going to get here, and she's going to say, so what's going on here? I'm going to be like, oh, it's not done yet. Imagine that there's like a lot of stuff. Like imagine that there's like cards and Post-its and like you can post stuff. And she'll be like, and I'll be thinking to myself, I tested too early. I needed to have a little bit more value. So I'm going to build this. We got to make this, I'm just going to make it so you can type stuff in and then create a card. And that's going to be a little interesting because I'm gonna try doing the database a little bit differently than I have before. I usually have like really flat database. It makes it look like tables, but for this, because Firebase has better query now, I'm gonna give them a chance and try to like just make it all under the board. Okay, so we're at our board. We have our input box. Actually, I think this is gonna have to change. We need another, I'm going to say that there's something in a board called, I'll just call this. Now instead of talking about data, we can talk about a board. So I'm going to say board.cards.map. Card. Now what's a card? Nothing yet. But I think we need one. We need to show these cards like we have in our idea in our wireframe. So I'm going to say card equals card. I suppose we don't need to return there because we could just do this. So show a bunch of cards. We need to make a card component. Da, 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 da. This. It's going to be a pretty simple component. Knock on wood. I say that now. Card content. Aggressive. I'm tempted to do a light gray background, but I want to make this as ugly as possible so I don't get distracted. So I'm just going to pick solid, and whatever its color is, it's just going to be black. So this is going to be ugly as hell. So maybe now we're rendering this card on top here. But there's no such thing as cards. No boards have cards. So and we could just make, well, let's not worry about it right now. Let's just make it ourselves. Let's make it so people can add cards. So it should be compiling now. Yeah, there's no cards. If there are cards, show them, and there are none. Now this input box's job is changing. It's not just always going to show the content of the board. In fact, this whole idea of a board's content is probably going to go away. Cards have content now. Yeah, this is the only place that's really referencing our board's content. I think I want to make this an uncontrolled form now, because I don't really, it's just a text area. It doesn't need to be controlled, I don't think, you know? Okay. So actually we'll have no default value anymore. And really what this is now is it's a form. With the text area in it. And I don't want to do on change, I want to say on submit. So how do you get stuff out of a submitted board? I forget. Let's check our Firefly example because I think I have uncontrolled forms there. So what is this saying for us to do? Prevent the page from refreshing. It's just a browser thing. Content event.target elements. I think I need to name this content for that to work. Const values. Content.value. This props on submit values. So basically, you're passing a thing for it to do. We're giving it an onSubmit method. We were giving this thing an onSubmit method, but we don't need to do that required. That's a good idea. What did we do before? I like this little view here. We can just say, hey, what did we change? We got rid of update board. I missed that. We need to, instead of this on submit values, we need to update board. This props.board ID. We're not really passing the board in here right now. Oh, are we? Yeah, I guess we are. Great. So when they submit a form, do this, and maybe I have to clear the input there, but we'll worry about that in a second. Ooh, it's a text area, but probably want it to be input, because I want people to just be able to hit enter. Do I need a submit button? I forget how forms work. I guess so. I want to get rid of this later, but for now, let's just try this. Watching for that down here. Here we go. Oh, so maybe, oh, you know what? Update board. It's just updating the board's content. That's not what I want. Yeah, I'm doing the wrong thing here. What I need to do is update a card, is create card. Yeah, I'm going to put it in a thing called cards. It better have value, otherwise there's no point. So, when you get this thing called create card, go to your boards, find the board called the board ID. go to that board's cards, add the values that we sent you. Seems straightforward enough. We need to go to our console and see what's going on in the database, because that's clearly not working. What board are we on? ONA. What have I done to you? Yeah, we keep setting this content thing, created by, created on, name, updated by, updated on. It doesn't have a collection called cards. If I add one, will it just work then? So we're not even showing, I'm using a React plugin, by the way, to this. We're not even showing input box. No cards here. I don't actually want this to be a thing. I just want to help me navigate the DOM. So we've got this thing called cards, but it doesn't want to show anything with board.cards. Show, does the board have any cards? Where am I even getting this board from? Data. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff here, but I'm not seeing cards as a sub item. I thought that's maybe how it works. So I need to figure out how to get Firestore collection from document. Looks like I might need to call a function. Not available on web. Okay, maybe I don't need it though. I guess I just need to use like a whole Firestore collection thing here. Probably. That's just the whole thing, isn't it? Well, we started down this road. We're gonna finish it. Okay. see what that gives us. Invalid prop children of type array. Supported Firestore collection. Oh. Progress. I guess I need to give it permission. This whole sub-collections thing, I don't really know. I guess it's not any harder than it would be right now to do it the real way. I could just make these like a list of, should I just do that? I just make it an array of things. No, I want to know who made the card. I think it's important. I might as well just do it now. Firestore rules. So I gotta do a nested thing. It's funny, when I load these two, I usually get a real doc and a Stack Overflow, and then if the Stack Overflow loads first, I just use it. Okay, so I think this should just say this should probably be board ID. That should be card ID. This is inside it, so it's not going to be root cards. It's going to be boards, board ID, cards, card ID. Allow read. Well, let's just keep all this. I'm assuming that if you can read if you have access to the parent, I'm assuming these all apply to the children, so I'm just going to say if you can get into the board, go crazy. Well, I need to research this more in depth, but it says rules don't cascade, so that's freaking me out, so I'm going to make sure that I have all this on the other side of being secure. Make this impossible for people to use, but we'll fix that when we can, as soon as we can. npm run dev. Let's get these rules up to our server so we can actually get the data we want to get. How are we doing on time? Okay. Another thing about this whole thing we did is that as you go, these things I think tend to just get bigger, right? Because they have to touch all the other stuff, and you sort of lose momentum. So things just get harder and harder as you go. And so it gets more and more imperative that you prioritize as you get farther. And you feel like you have momentum early on, but it's this false momentum because you're just taking off these little breadcrumbs and you haven't really done like a real heavy thing yet. Let's see what we got. So this is a great example. It was just throwing a simple collection up the first time that we did the database. Now we got to have this whole nested stuff. It's getting a little trickier. I'm a little bit more out of my domain knowledge. Okay. Permission denied. What happens if I do this? So I can't add them either. Is that what I just typed? Okay, so we are successfully creating cards here. Just always checking on my dev account. We've got cards. I just created this card. It says hi Bob. It says who created it. I created it. We don't want this attribute anymore. In fact, you know, created on, created by, all these stuff. These boards have content that isn't really relevant anymore. I'm just going to clean these guys out. I can't see the cards. Boards, you got a new board. It's called the new style. It's got a collection cards. Card says OA. So we're getting the data in is good. We're just not getting the query. Not getting the data out because we're having permission denied error. So there's something going on with our rules still, it sounds like. Read if I'm signed in. I'll tell you what, can I do, first of all, can I do this? Let's just try with permissive rules. I think that's how you do it. I should have 2 tabs for this terminal, by the way, but there's a bug in my, it's a whole thing. Ooh, it's working. Unique key prop. Yeah, I knew that. I should have done that. My bad. Card. So, this is kind of cool, guys. Kind of cool. It's kind of cool. We got cards going up. Going up, going up. So we can make a board. Sprint retro. Okay. We're going to go to that board. We can type stuff that went good. And it's going to go up. I liked it. Very nice. What's one more thing we can do to these guys? Oh, they are ugly. I like it. I'm getting nitpicky. I feel myself getting nitpicky. Okay guys, so this is a little bit closer to like what we actually need to do. Now this whole submit thing, I think we need to just take a look at that, because I don't want to commit that as you have to delete the old thing you typed. It ain't right. I think it's a controlled component. You were right, React. Let's learn how to do a controlled component. Or a controlled input. Also, like HTML form submit without button. I don't want to do that. Okay, not what I wanted. Let's go back to what we were trying to do in the first place. State value. I don't think I have to do this binding stuff anymore. Handle change. That's what I need. Handle submit. I got it. That wasn't worth it. Let's give it a whirl. I'm going to give this a... It's getting long, we gotta break it up. So now when I come in, I can just type. Well, that worked, but it didn't clear my thing. Probably need a default attribute or value. Nice. Add a bunch of stuff. Can I turn off Chrome auto? So, devious. I don't know if it's going to work in React land. Nope. Do I have to do this? Alright, no dice. Leave it for now. Let's keep doing that. Got a whole lot of cards here. In fact, let's just get rid of them. This whole thing. So how can we test these rules? We're all done with this commit except for these rules. Possibly might let somebody not logged in get access. So let's do a, do I have access to Firebase? No. I have an idea. I'm going to go to, how are we doing on time? I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a break real quick, make sure the screen recording is good, and then I have an idea for how we can test these rules, and we'll see if we can't get this wrapped up and make sure our app is still secure. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm back. I got a big apple. So where we left off is we have this pretty cool board situation going on, but I don't know how to get the rules to be written so that we can actually see our cards, but we also just want to make sure that this is secure. This is a very permissive rule that lets us see our cards, but it might not be secure, and these seem like they would be secure, but we're not really sure. And so I think what we just need to do is write some tests, some basic tests. I don't really know how to write, well, let's just look it up. I'm going to do that anyway. Firestore, right, Firestore rules testing. So maybe we can just write some tests the way that they tell us to do it, or we can also just like hack it, build a little button that tries to get stuff and tells us what the result was. Let's just see how it goes. So there's a lot of stuff we got to do. We got to run an emulator, generate test, run local tests. So install this thing, initialize a test app, I guess. Turns an initialized app. We can give it an auth. Great. Initialize admin app. No, I don't want that. Kind of cool. Oh, okay, this actually looks like it might be kind of neato. So let's see if we can do it. Yeah, this seems kind of cool. I feel like use a test case of simple rules. Yeah, let's do that. So there's no other libraries, just straight Firebase. What else is even in this? README, ESLint. What's in these? I think that'll just be what we got already. We already got this. Oh, it's Mocha. Okay. So it's actually running a Mocha test. I kind of want to use Jest because that's what I used in the past a little bit, and it seems better and easier to set up than Mocha. This does seem like kind of a lot here. This is what we want. Is someone knocking on my door? Oh gosh. There's a whole lot going on here. I've never done this before. This could be a minute. But what if we say this? What if we say we go with the one that Firebase laid out here, this quick start deal. Let's try to get this going on. And let's spend a little while working on it. And if we can't, we'll take a pause on it and we'll just hack it in the browser and write some things that we expect to work and not work in the browser. But I guess it'd be better to have it like a real setup if we can get it. I think there's someone at my door. Yeah, my neighbor locked himself out of his apartment, so I had to give him a key. All right, let's get back to it. We're gonna do this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make this thing. We're gonna give it a shot. And then what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna give this a shot. If it works, then we're golden. We've got a cool thing to go with. And if it doesn't work, then we're gonna hack it with a little, just test in the app itself. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna commit this, because this is working with the rules we have, the permissive rules. And I'm gonna do it like this. Users can create cards on boards. WIP, work in progress. Users can create cards on boards. So now I have this as a commit. If I screw up something, like I delete everything, it's fine because I can just go and refresh back to the commit. But if it works, I can continue to add on to that commit. And so I don't have like a work in progress commit anymore. All right, so what do they tell us to do? Let's do this. This is the real stuff, by the way, because like we're in like uncharted territory, folks. So we got to figure this out together. File system. What do I need that for? Now, they said the rules are getting pulled in with this flag, but now it says maybe there's just two ways of doing it. I don't know why I need file system. I'm just gonna not install it yet. Do I need all this stuff? We will see. I'm gonna make a new folder. All right, test in our root. guess we already have a test, right? What is that doing right now? Yeah, we might want to make this all the same, but for now we're just going to say test rules. And let's just try it. Oh. God, this just seems complicated. Those fancy comments. Maybe I need. I'm just kind of messing with it right now. Okay, before all hook in root. Connect failed. For each. Before all. Is that even a thing? Nope. I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed because I feel like I'm doing this a dumb way. Because I could just be like cloning this thing, but I don't want to clone it because I already have a project. And I'm only installing half the stuff. Format, yeah, I don't need that. Why do they gotta give me extra stuff I don't need? I'm kind of bouncing around, and like this is really kind of not an effective way to develop stuff. This is sort of taking shots in the dark thing. But I guess I'm impatient, and it's the end of my week right now. Doing my best here. I mean, I guess I also don't want to just bore you guys, so I'm trying to move fast, but sometimes this stuff is boring. This is all kind of working. Okay, we can get all this back later. I just want to simplify this down to like the bare bones thing. What is this thing supposed to do? My app requires users to log in before creating a profile. Collection, boards, So I'm not logged in. This auth app thing returns a new app with no auth with my project ID. Which is this random thing. What is this being used for? Yeah, I don't really want to deal with that right now. I'm just trying to get this as simple as possible. Before each something, 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 and then after. Alright, that should work. Let's just Google it. Throw it in. This is just the worst way to do this, guys. I'm just going to splash a bunch of console.logs over this thing so I can just see where this thing is screwing up. Setting project, getting rules before all hook in root. So this before thing is not working. Oh wait, load Firestore rules, project ID rules. Read file sync. Is that even, is that what you even find it there? What if we don't need any befores or afters? If we just did it, what would happen? Because this is all managing. Just curious to see what's going to happen here. You know what? I'm not fucking running the emulator. That's why the connecting has failed. Didn't follow the directions. In rocket science. Too big a bite. Excuse me? Gotta update this guy maybe. You know, we're not always having the best day when we do this stuff. Just trying shit. Today, one of those days. Bit of a slog. Yeah, I know I broke it. What? Java? My brain just broke, people. Oh my god. Oh, plot twist. I gotta install Java? This is a whole lot, people. Oh my goodness. This is something. This screen is why I use Firebase. So I never have to look at something like this again. I don't know what's up. Guys, I don't know. I just don't know. Oh, we got to get something going. We're short on time. I don't have time for this. I don't think we got time for this. I think we got to just bail a little bit on this. Sorry. I'm going to yank this out. No, not that. Just this. What did I install? What is all the stuff I installed? This can go away. No Java runtime. I'm sure it's easy and fine once you get used to it, and I'm sure we'll do it in another video later. And now that I've gotten a little bit of a taste for it, like, you know, great. We'll TBD, but like we gotta. I don't know, guys. That was just something feels real wrong about that. Look at that. Back to where we were. Nice and clean. Okay, so here's what I think. Hope I'm not going to eat my words and come back to that in a second, but I'm just going to do something the old-fashioned way. We're going to create a component that's just going to test this. I'm going to hack it. None of this. So we're just going to create, here's what we're doing here. We're going to create an instance of the Firestore thing. We're not going to use the component. We're just going to raw get it. Const card ref equals Firebase. I guess we'll just leave it DB. Card ref. db.collection boards .doc. I guess it needs to be board ref. And let's just pick one of the boards we actually have. This is going to be wacky, but listen, that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. Da, 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 da. Hard ref. And what do I do with all that? Alright. This is pretty wacky. Just gonna do it. Okay. So something's happening. What happens when we get that get? Then function query snapshot. Not really an error, because we might want it to break. I don't think status is what we want. Well, that makes sense. Is that how you do that? Yeah, something. Yeah, what is a query snapshot? Is it even a query snapshot? I'm getting a doc. Data. Interesting. Didn't really catch. Getting cards, something happened. Do I not need this? Oh, I didn't give it a doc. Lazy. Come on. Hmm. Let's try logging in and see what happens. When I'm logged in, this should work. Well, that's silly. Why did I expect that to work? Is that a thing? So it's a, in theory, it's a thing. This might be broken here. I'm not sure that's running it correctly. Still not erroring out. That's kind of wild. Let's just start at the beginning. That's good. Uncaught and promise. Code, I think. Great. You're probably getting a little bored right now. Maybe something like that. No, it's a board. It's still a doc. It's not a query snap. It's a doc. Board snap. Wait, I'm logged in. I don't even have permission. Oh, because it's a shit ID. Maybe that's it. All right. So if we're logged in, we get something here with no error code. So that board thing is working well. Maybe we should just say this, assuming all that works, let's nest some promises. And, you know, that's not good. Well, let's not nest them, how about that? So we got something going on. We're running this test, and we can see that we're successfully getting a Sprint Retro board here. Getting board, getting card. Card broke. Okay. This isn't even accurate. Now we got a card. Cards now. Nothing in it though. So I'm just going to make sure these rules are up. So what I'm trying to do is get these rules up and run some things that say, you know, like what should break and what shouldn't, essentially. It should really be at the top level after all, I think. So if we're logged in, we're getting the board, and we're getting an undefined thing here, and I'm not really sure why, but I'm just curious to see what happens if I log out. So at least I'm getting a permission denied for the board. So if I'm logged out, I can't even get the board. Well, it's obvious, I guess. It should be all in one. I guess the real question is query Firestore query document in sub collection.
All right. You say thanks enough.
People are so excited.
You can do on the server libraries.
Seems like I'm doing it right. I don't know that getting the board is even the right thing here. I think we should just be going right to the card because that's the whole point. Interesting. I mean, it won't matter. It's working. Let's try this. So it got board and card info. Let's just say cardsnap.id. So if I run this, it gives me a card ID. Now, if I log out, it gives me a card ID. That makes sense because our rules let you do anything. And maybe that's bad because that means that anybody could access this. So I'm curious to see what happens if I do this. And all this is just not longer a thing. gotta go. I'm not this for too long. Permission denied. So here's what we know. If you have these strict rules, nobody's going to get access to this card, not even the owner. And I'm not sure why. Where on the other hand, if you have this rule, it seems anybody can get access to it at any time. And luckily we have some nice little tests here that are helping us figure this out. So I think that's really positive. Hopefully you don't need any of that, because this isn't committed to any version control. And this card result. But at least we have this little thing that's going to run this test for us by going in and getting a specific card and board here. And so, you know, it's just like a little thing. Resisting the urge to make this pretty. So at least we have a way to determine like if our rules are working or not. And right now we know that they're not working. The commit that we have has very permissive rules, and we need to go and figure out how to fix that with Firestore, with Firebase, and how Firebase works and our stuff. So that's something we need to figure out. That took a long time. You know, this is like the reality. Like sometimes you get caught up on something you're not super familiar with. You have to fix these rules. It's nested rules. I've never done these nested collections before, so it just feels a little strange. And there's some debugging to do there. But hey, at least we got like these cards working. That's pretty cool. And I think we're about to get the data fixed for it too. This is a long one. Yeah, I think, you know, the best thing for me that I've found at this point is like, get yourself to a sane place. Get yourself where the code is like reasonably readable, reasonably something that's gonna like, you know, make sense when you come back to it another day. You're not just gonna be totally freaking confused. Like maybe leave yourself a little note. No dashboard. Nobody. Leave yourself a little note. When I come back to this, I'm going to have a sense of what's going on. I'm not going to push this anywhere. I could push it to stage, but that just wouldn't really make any sense. There's no real reason to. So I'm going to leave this as where it stands. And you know, I just think that the best thing for me to do right now is to not think about this for a little while. Well, just like we were talking about how we got all that stuff from Jason, it was all kind of clogged in our brain. It was the end of the week. You've got it recorded. Just let it go. Come back to it later. I probably should have stopped even sooner, to be honest with you. So I'm probably going to come back to this and find some random little dumb typo, and maybe wish I hadn't gone through all this trouble. But at least we did write some good tests, and I want to have good test coverage for our security of our app. We wrote some tests, maybe not great tests. Yeah, time to just relax. kind of take a break, enjoy my Saturday, and come back to it next week and week 2. All right. A little exhausted, but we're getting there. See y'all.